Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. So today's webinar is the first in a 5-part series of webinars specifically aimed at members, especially if you are new to BNI or new to BNI Connect. What we do is in a series of these 5 30-minute webinars, we're going to go through pretty much the whole BNI Connect system from a member standpoint. It starts today with a brief overview of BNI Connect, and we're going to show you really how to fill out your profile. So the very first steps to getting involved with BNI Connect. And then throughout the week, so tomorrow, what we're going to talk about is the online referrals. So how to give and track referrals online and submit your slips. After that, on Wednesday, we're going to talk about connecting with other members, so how to dive deeper into the database, so to speak, and find other BNI members around the world. Also, how to give testimonials in BNI Connect, and to get involved with the group discussions. Then on Thursday, we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about the tools and reports in BNI Connect that you have access to, and how to get some things like great stats out of BNI Connect. And then finally, on Friday, what we're going to talk about is inviting and registering visitors. Inviting and registering visitors, how you can use BNI Connect to send out an invitation to a potential visitor and then register them for an upcoming meeting as well. Before we get started on the content today, a couple of quick housekeeping things. First of which, this is a live webinar. So if you have any questions whatsoever, all you need to do is the same thing that Trinity just did and type your question into the questions panel. And Trinity asks, by the way, if you need to do anything to get credit for today's webinar, even if you're sharing a computer. The thing that you want to do is make sure that you submit a CEU slip. So log into BNI Connect and submit a CEU slip, and you can do that even if your name isn't showing up directly on the list. All right, so hopefully that answers your question, Trinity. And if anybody else has any questions whatsoever, feel free to just ask those questions either as we're going through these or at the end of the session. Now, today's session, as are all of these sessions, they're set to be about 30 minutes worth of content. I try to be very respectful of everybody's time. Everybody's busy. They have jobs, phone calls to return, and emails to return, so I like to keep these short and sweet. That being said, this is my full-time job. This is what I do all day, every day, is talk about BNI Connect and answer questions about BNI Connect. So after the presentation portion, I am always happy to stay on these webinars until every single question is answered. So if you want to hang out past the 30-minute mark, feel free to do so and ask me as many questions as you would like. We are recording this webinar as well. So if you'd like to share this with other members in your chapter or members in your area, you're welcome to do so. You'll be able to find that on the support site, as well as on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Again, that's youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. All right, without further ado, let's get started with today. And first thing I want to do is to give you kind of an overview of BNI Connect. Now, BNI Connect is a very big system. One thing that you may not know is that BNI is in 72 countries around the world. So some of those countries aren't officially launched yet, so they're still starting their first chapters. But in BNI Connect, there are 72 countries in the drop-down list. That's composed of 948 regions. So just like where you happen to have your chapter meeting, by the way, I'm a member. I'm a member here in the great state of Rhode Island, the smallest state in the United States. But that is a region of BNI, and there's regions like that all over the world. Some of them are the whole state, like Vermont and Rhode Island here. Some of them are smaller pieces of the state, like Jacksonville, Florida, or Orlando, Florida, or even a couple of them in Los Angeles. Now, within that, there's also 7,118 chapters and another 1,200 forming chapters around the world as well. BNI Connect hosts all of the data for all of these members and regions around the world. Not only do we host the data for it in keeping track of all of the statistics and all of the memberships and things like that and the visitors, but we also host public websites for every single one of these regions and countries. And there's 39 country websites, another 805 region websites, and getting close to 7,000 chapter websites around the world, and your chapter has a website as well. There's about 190,000 active users. That's about 190,000 members, and then there's another 20,000 or so users on the system, such as people from headquarters that aren't currently members, or executive directors and website administrators. So there's a huge system with a whole lot of people. There's also 504 active discussion groups in BNI Connect that connect all of these people around the world together. They're having conversations in BNI Connect, communicating with each other, building relationships around the world. Amy has a question. She says, where are your headquarters? Headquarters are in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where the global support team is located now. The headquarters used to be in California, and they just moved across to the other side of the United States to Charlotte, North Carolina a few months back. So hopefully that answers your question there, Amy. All right, so for anybody that happens to be a geek on the other side of this conversation, there's some stats for you from a application perspective. Now, BNI Connect is not a website. We do host a number of websites. However, BNI Connect is a web application. It is a program that happens to be accessed through a web interface. Now, because of that, it's a little bit different than just like a Facebook or a LinkedIn or anything like that. This is really like QuickBooks for BNI, as well as a LinkedIn that is private to BNI members. As such, there's 935 individual pages within the application itself. Now, that's not even counting those hundreds of region websites and chapter websites. This is the logged in portion of BNI Connect that's available only to members. There's about 120 reports, and one of the things that makes BNI Connect really complicated is that it also needs to be translated into 47 different languages. And we can't just use something like Google Translate. It has to be individually transcribed into 47 different languages. So that means that every time let's say a new report gets created, we have to put that into 47 different languages. About a dozen different programming languages and about 1 million lines of code. So just give you an idea of the scope and the size of BNI Connect. And what's the really cool thing about BNI Connect to me is that we really are living a local business global network. Now, as I mentioned before, I am a BNI member. I've been a BNI member since 2002. And when I first joined BNI, I couldn't look up who the members were in the chapter that met right across town on a different day, let alone be able to search for any member around the world. And this really does provide us with a network that is bigger than just our chapter, a network that's bigger than just our region. It connects us with like-minded business individuals around the world. And to me, that is a very, very exciting thing. And I've used it very many times in support of my own business. If you'd like some stories about that, check out SuccessNet. And there are tons and tons of stories of people connecting around the world. Now, I'm not going to spend all day in a PowerPoint. What I want to do is to jump in right into BNI Connect and start showing you guys some things in BNI Connect. Now, the first thing that I want to show you guys is really about the membership itself. And, one of the things about it, and hopefully everybody knows what VCP is: visibility, credibility, and profitability. In order to be profitable, you first need to be visible, and BNI Connect can help you with that. People have to know that you're there, and people have to know that you exist before they'll do business with you. Now, just because people know you exist, you also have to be credible. So people have to not only know you, but they have to like and trust you. Only then will you lead to the path of profitability. So how can BNI Connect help you with that? Well, people are looking to pass you business, and one of the things I say is that visibility and credibility, when we multiply that by BNI Connect, we can really exponentially increase our profitability. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Now, I'm going to get out of this PowerPoint now, and this is the logged in portion of BNI Connect. Now, your profile will display in a number of different places. So there's two different sides to BNI Connect. There's the public side that anybody with an internet connection can get to. So that's all of the regional and national websites and your chapter website as well. Then there's the logged in portion, so the members only area of BNI Connect, and your profile will show up in all of those places. So let's take a look at what that looks like. For example, here in the United States, we have a BNIamerica.com. So BNIamerica.com, this is a public website. So again, anybody on the internet, and Google is indexing this site. So anybody can get to this site, and on this site we have all of the chapters and all of the member profiles. So for example, if I go to find a member here on the left-hand side, I can do a search by keyword or by category, or just by somebody's name, for example. So if I search for myself, I'm going to search for Jeremy Walsh. And it comes back with one exact match and a bunch of other partial matches. And if I click this profile here, this is my profile in BNI Connect. So you can see, again, my picture, my phone number, all of my social media, what a good referral is for me. I even have a video there in the My Business description. It has my logo. All of this is both visibility and credibility building. But not just here on BNIamerica.com. As I said, there's three distinct places on the public internet that you can be found. So I'm also a member in Rhode Island. So if I go to BNIRI.com, that's our local regional BNI website. And here there's a very similar find a member. And let's see, I do a search for computer. A bunch of results come back, but one of those results is me here, Jeremy Walsh. And this is the same profile. So it's showing my name, my company name, my picture, my logo, my social media links, my phone numbers, my ideal referrals. All of that information is showing here as well. Now, every chapter also has their own web page. So I'm a member of the Wakefield chapter. Let's take a look at the BNI Wakefield chapter. It lists all of our members here. But I can also go and click on visit this chapter or visit the chapter website. And here on the chapter website, meet our members, and my profile is here as well. So this is another distinct URL. So there's three public URLs, three public places that my profile is showing up, and Google loves that, by the way. Now, once you log into BNI Connect, there's also a directory just for BNI members, and that's where your profile will show as well. So if I click on BNI Connect and I get logged into BNI Connect, now if you don't have your username and password yet, don't panic. Just click on the new to BNI Connect link that's there. So if you get to the login page and you don't know what your username and password is, if you've already logged in before, just click on Forgot Password. If you've never logged in before, click on New to BNI Connect, Register Now, and you can get yourself registered. And if you're still struggling, just shoot us an email, support@bniconnect.com, and we will be happy to get your account reset for you. So anyway, here in BNI Connect, once you get your profile filled out, people can use the directory. They can use this magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner, and they can search for any BNI member around the world. Again, all 200,000, almost 200,000 members around the world, they're all here in the BNI Global Directory. So once again, I'm going to do a search for Jeremy Walsh. And here comes my records. So here's my user account here, and if I click on it, now on the members side of BNI Connect, we're sharing a little bit more information than we do to the public internet. So we have a lot of the similar information here. I still have the video, still have my name and my picture and my logo, but we're also showing what keywords, so the additional areas of your business. We are sharing your email address, but only on the inside and only if you'd like to. Still has my social media links. Where this gets to be more stuff is that there's also a bio tab. So your weekly presentations, for example, and your gains profile and your tops profile, more credibility building information. You can also, very similar to LinkedIn, where you can view people's first and second and third level connections, you can do the same thing here in BNI Connect. You can look at all of my first level connections, and you can click through and look at their connections and their connections and their connections. There's actually no limit to how deep you can go with the connections here in BNI Connect. The next thing that we're sharing is the testimonials here. So testimonials are part of this. You can see all the testimonials and nice things that people have said to you. There's a photo sharing library. The groups that you're participating in, so you can click through and read other people's groups. And finally, the training history. So all of this is available to the members within BNI Connect. Now that's all great, but now if you haven't started filling out your profile yet, this is one of my test users up in Antarctica. But if we take a look at this profile, this is what your profile actually looks like now if you've never logged into BNI Connect or if you haven't started filling out your profile. So you can see this, I mean, visibility, sure, my name is being published there, but there's absolutely no information being shared here. There's no testimonials yet, there's no groups, and most importantly, right here on the home screen, not even sharing a phone number. So how do we update this information? Well, if you searched for yourself, you could always click on Update Profile. If not, what I'd like to do is to go back to the home screen here. And on the home screen, there's a couple of different ways that you can access your profile. The first of which is to click this link here at the top. It says Update Profile, My BNI Page. Update Profile, My BNI Page. That will take you in to the back end portion of your profile. Alternatively, anywhere else in the system, if you happen to be on a report or anything like that, you can always go to your profile by clicking on Options, My Account. So again, I can either go to Update Profile or click on Options, My Account. Both things will take you to the same place. Now, once we get into the profile, you'll notice that it's broken into a number of tabs along the top. We have our Main Profile tab, our User Profile tab, our Contact Details, Account Settings, Bio. If you happen to be a director consultant, you'll also see a director profile and training history. So let's go through and take a look at each one of these to see what is located on these various parts of your profile. So this first tab is the main profile. Now, a lot of this information you can't change directly. For example, your name and your company name and your industry and your classification. All of that is entered when you put your application in. And because the application it's kind of a contract between BNI and you, or you and your chapter, that information, in order for it to be changed, does need to be changed by the regional office. And a lot of times, although you don't have to pay money again, if there is a change there, you might have to submit a new application just so that the paperwork matches up with what's in BNI Connect. So the stuff up at the top here, a lot of times you'll have to request for that to be changed. Same thing with the industry, the classification, and the chapter. On this page, the two things that you want to pay a lot of attention to is the My Business and the keywords. Now, the My Business, the way that I look at the My Business field is that it's a, if you think to open networking, so that first 15 minutes of the chapter meeting, let's say that you have a visitor that comes into that meeting and you're meeting them for the very first time. How do you explain your business to them in just a few sentences? Keep in mind that, especially being here on the internet, people don't like to read a whole lot of stuff. If you go on for paragraphs and paragraphs, people are probably just going to skip right past it. So I would keep it short and sweet, probably 3 or 4 sentences that succinctly describe your business. Now, the other thing that you can do with this is, as I mentioned before, you can embed a video in here as well. Now, in order to embed a video, you do need to have that video hosted somewhere else. such as YouTube or Vimeo, and then all you really need to do is take the embed code and paste it in here. So if you'd like more information about that, just let me know and we'll circle back around to that at the end of the webinar, and I'd be happy to show you guys exactly how to do that. The other thing that you want to do is the keywords. Now, the keywords are going to really help you. It's the same keywords on your profile, whether it's on the public side of things or whether it's here on the members only side of things. But the keywords help people to find you when they don't know your name. Now, keep in mind that this is BNI Connect and this is a database. And when people are searching in it, it's a database search, which is a little bit different than, let's say, a Google search. So if we had the budget and the search engine of Google, it would be a much different story. So what you have to think about is, really when you're doing a search on Google, for example, you're really trying to put in the maximum number of information to narrow down billions and billions of web pages into a couple of results. It's the exact opposite here in BNI Connect. We're searching against the database, so we're searching against exact terms, which means that if you're, for example, let's say that you're a bookkeeper. Well, your industry is going to be accounting and your classification is going to be bookkeeping. So by default, those words are going to be included. But what if somebody does a search for bookkeeper? Well, that's where the keywords come in. In order to be found for somebody doing a search for bookkeeper as well as bookkeeping, you need to make sure that bookkeeper is in your keywords. So think about that for your own industry, your own business. What other words or what other permutations of those words might people be looking for? Put those into the keywords and make sure that you click update if you've made any changes. Now, one other thing about keywords that may not be completely obvious. When people are doing a search, for example, for, I don't know, a massage therapist in Dallas, Texas, okay? It's searching Dallas based on what people's business address is in the system. So on your profile, when we get to it on the contact details tab, if your office is located in Dallas, then it will return a hit for that. However, that may not be all encompassing. You may want to be found in other cities or in other states. Rhode Island, as I mentioned before, is a tiny, tiny state. It's 40 miles wide by 40 miles long by 20 miles wide, which is about 800 square miles. What that means is that a lot of people in Rhode Island do business over the borders in Massachusetts and Connecticut. So I wanted to make sure that if somebody was looking for computer services in Massachusetts or Connecticut that I showed up as well. So I put Massachusetts and Connecticut into my profile as well. So think about what people will be searching for and make sure that you update that. Again, if you make any changes here, click on update at the bottom of the page here. All right, so let's go over to the next tab. The next tab is the user profile tab. So the user profile tab has more things to do with your account, kind of the back-end settings of your account. You can choose whatever username you want. It does not have to be your email address. As a matter of fact, I usually recommend that it's not your email address. So you can change that to whatever you'd like as long as it's not being used by somebody else in BNI Connect. Now, the memorable question and answer are really important because if you forget your password, that is the challenge it's going to give you in order to reset that. Let me just show you how that works real quick, especially if you happen to have anybody in chapter that's struggling to get logged into BNI Connect, you can help them out. So for example, if I click on forgot password here on the login screen, first, it's going to ask me for my email address. So this has to be the email address that's on your profile in the system. And then it's going to ask for a CAPTCHA code. And once it finds me, it's going to ask me my secret question. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? Now, when I answer this, it needs to match exactly what I have here in my answer. So that includes uppercase, lowercase, spaces, hyphenation, periods, and commas. All of that has to match exactly. Once you do that, it will allow you to reset your password. So make sure it's a question that you know the answer to. And again, keep in mind, if you put in something like, what's the first street address that you lived at or something like that, make sure that if you spell out the word street or you abbreviate street, that you remember which you put in there. As I mentioned, BNI Connect is translated into about 47 different languages. You can choose different versions. If you happen to be a native Spanish speaker or French or something like that, you can, of course, choose one of those languages. And then we also have the profile image and company logo. Of course, you can change that at any time. Let's say I'd like to put a different logo up. I can click on Change Company Logo. I'm going to click the little magnifying glass. And let's take a look. I'm going to upload a new logo here. And let's say I'd like this black version of my logo. You can crop it if you'd like to. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and click Save. And now I have a new logo up there. Of course, if you make any changes, make sure you click the Update button. The next tab is all of your contact details, so name, phone numbers, and email addresses, and social media, and physical address. All of that gets put on here. Now, the most important thing on this entire page, very, 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 very important, the top thing that it says on here, show me on the BNI public websites. If that is unchecked, you will not be found in any of the searches on the public website. I repeat, if that is unchecked, even if somebody searches for you directly by name, they will not find you. So make sure if you want to be found on those public sites, make sure that you have that in there. The rest of this information, update it as necessary. You can choose which individual things are showing up on the public websites and which ones aren't. On the public website, we will never show your email address. On the public website, we will not show it. It is always hidden. However, on your profile, there is the ability for them to send you a message. It will get sent to your real email address, but it won't be shown. We do have a quick question. David asks, as a photographer, I would like to be able to have my Instagram link. So here's the deal with these social media links. Basically, this label really isn't used anywhere. So a lot of people have asked over the years, well, I'd like to use my, I have like 3 Facebook accounts, or I have 2 LinkedIn accounts, and I'd like to be able to put them all up there. What I would say is just use one of the other labels that you might not be using. For example, if you don't have a Sun Tzu account, just use that and put your Instagram account on there. I'm talking with the people in charge, and maybe someday we're just going to make this link 1, link 2, link 3, because they change so often. But that's what I would do for now. So hopefully that helps, David. And you'll see, for example, if I go to my profile, you can see that all my social media links are here, but there's really no labels for them. So that's why I'd say to just reuse the other ones. All right, hopefully that helps. By the way, the other thing, that the little fave icons, by the way, the little LinkedIn symbol and the Facebook symbol, make sure that this is an HTTP as opposed to an HTTPS. Especially if those sites aren't necessarily HTTPS. The translation from one secure site to another may disallow it from pulling that fave icon through. So, sorry, just a little advanced tip there. All right, so the next tab is the member-to-member settings. The member-to-member settings have to do with how you're sharing information inside BNI Connect to other members. Now, the number one thing that I recommend here is that on the member-to-member settings, you can choose whether or not you're sharing information with everybody. So as soon as they find your profile, you're sharing information with them, just to your connections, or with nobody at all. For your contact details at least. I highly, highly recommend that you share them with everybody. Now, whether or not you show your email, that's another story, or some of the other pieces of information, but I really recommend that you switch this one over to all. The reason for that is that if people are looking for your services in BNI Connect, they're going to find your profile. They're not going to wait until you accept their connection request before they go moving on to somebody else's profile or services that is sharing that contact information. So recommendations, switch that to all. The rest of this has to do with some of the notifications in the system, so you can choose whether or not to, how often you want to get emailed if you're participating in groups. I personally like to be notified every time there's activity in one of those groups, especially because I manage a couple of groups, so it reminds me to go in and take care of those. And then at the bottom, I also recommend switching these all over to yes, except for opt out of emails. That will make it so if somebody sends you an internal message or if somebody sends you a connection request, that will be sent over to your profile as well. The next thing is the bio, and it's exactly how it sounds. The bio is the same bio we've been using as an introduction to our 10-minute presentations at the chapter meeting. Years in business and spouse and burning desire, something nobody knows about you, all of that information. The nice thing is that here you can kind of set it and forget it, so to speak, and just put the information in, and then your secretary treasurer doesn't have to chase you down before that 10-minute presentation. It's all up here. The next part is the weekly presentations. Now, there are 190,000 plus members here in BNI Connect. 189,950 of them will probably never be at one of your chapter meetings to hear you give a weekly presentation. However, you can share them here. Take a recording or put in type out your weekly presentations. And also, as a little side note, it's a good emergency presentation if you can't make it to your chapter meeting at the last minute. If it's another BNI member that's subbing for you, they can just grab your presentation off of your profile here. Or if it's somebody that's not in BNI, you always have it here. You can copy it and paste it into an email and shoot it off to them. The gains profile, goals, accomplishments, interests, networks, and skills help to build that credibility. It's also great to review that on somebody's profile before you have a one-to-one with them. It's called the gains exchange, and it'll help that one-to-one be turbocharged. Finally, we have the tops profile. Now, if you have limited time, you only have a couple of minutes today, then fill out your My Business, your keywords, and the tops profile. The reason why I say that is because this one is on the public internet. This one is on all of those regional, country, and chapter sites. So please fill out the tops profile first, but do fill out the rest of it as soon as you can as well. Of course, click update if you've made any changes. Again, if you're a director, this is the only place the director profile shows up, by the way, is on the Contact Us page of your regional website if you are part of the regional staff. And finally, we have the training history. Now, the training history, we can't add anything there directly on our own membership. However, if you find that something is missing, just contact your director consultant or your regional admin. They will be more than happy to manually add that back in there for you. The only final thing that you notice that there was a picture gallery on your profile as well. Why it's not one of these tabs, I'm not sure, but if you need to add photos, you can go to Network, Picture Gallery. So that's where that would be located. When you're done, if you want to check out what your profile looks like, go ahead and click the profile button at the bottom of the screen, and that will take you to your profile. You could also search for yourself. That would be another way to do it. And this is what your profile looks like. All right, so we are at the bottom of the hour. I do want to open this up for questions. I also want to be respectful of people's times. I know there are people that might have had to leave right away at the bottom of the hour to get back to your jobs or return those phone calls or go to be with your family, whatever it might be. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Again, I will stay as long as you guys need to make sure that every single question is answered. Before you guys go, though, if anybody does need to leave, As I said, this is being recorded, so if you'd like to come back and review it, or you'd like to view some of the questions that you weren't able to stick around for, you'll find the recording in two places. Now, the first place is the support site. So the best thing to do, up here in the upper right-hand corner, that will bring you to the support site. The support site has help documents for pretty much everything in the system. The first thing is all of the webinars, and you'll see that the webinars were recorded. So you'll find a February 2016 one up there as soon as I'm able to upload it, and I'll have a link under here to the recording. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll also find recorded webinars under chapter training, as well as a ton of other training materials. So for example, if you want to learn how to email a visitor invitation, this has a step-by-step walkthrough and guide, and a lot of them have short videos along with them as well. So check out the help site if you have any questions. And finally, you can also go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, and this has our entire repository of videos. So all of the webinars we've ever done, as well as shorter things like education moments, so little 3 to 5 minute videos that you can watch up here as well. All right, so we have some questions coming up. Let's answer those questions. David, I think we took care of your questions earlier. Amy has a question. She says, if I have two businesses, can I add a second business and URL to my profile rather than have a separate account? In other words, have two accounts, one for each business. No, so you are limited to the one business that you are a BNI member for. So whatever one that you applied to be a member of your chapter for, that is the one that should be displayed in BNI Connect. So, and we can only, as a person, be a member of one chapter at a time. Okay? So hopefully that helps. I'm not sure if it's the answer you were looking for, but that is the answer. All right, let's see. David Burnett says, can things like years in business or city be changed to enter the date so that the system calculates it? I assume you need to go in each year with this and change it. Yes, I'm sure it could be changed at some point in time. However, it was designed exactly how the pieces of paper that we used for many, many years were designed. So that's why it's this way. That being said, I agree with you. It would be a way to easily calculate it. However, with that being said, it's not a bad idea to go back in every once in a while and just double check to make sure that the information is updated and correct. First of all, Google and search engines, they really like when information change. It forces them to re-index your particular page or the website. So it's a good idea to keep this information fresh. I am sure that things have changed in your life and in your business that you may need to update that information anyway. So it's a good idea to go in there at least once a year, if not more often, and update that information. Does that make sense, David? Mark says, how do you get the social media icons to show? I added links to my social media sites, but the icons don't show. So Mark, to do that, so you'll notice that on all of these, most of the time, like if I go to Facebook, if I go to my account on Facebook, Jeremy Walsh, TRC Jeremy, I think it is, you'll notice that this is a HTTPS site here. What you want to do is copy and paste this into your profile, but take the S out of the HTTPS. So there's something about, the background going from BNI Connect is an HTTPS as well, but something from going from this inside of an HTTPS site to another HTTPS site that fave icon doesn't want to come across. However, if you take out the S, you'll notice here it still links to my Facebook site and it automatically brings me to the HTTPS, but by not having the S in there, it has the icon. All right, so hopefully that helps, Mark. All right, Mark says that did it. Amy says, how are chapters started? Some in my area have 39 members, one has 19, and one has 7 members. I'm thinking I'm going to go to the one with 19. So the best thing to do, Amy, if you want I can take this one offline with you, and I can get you in touch with your regional team. So BNI has regional teams in all of the states and areas that are located. It would be best to talk about some of these details with the executive director or with one of the director consultants in that area. They'll be able to help you pick the best chapter based on your business and what other complementary businesses are in those various chapters. So if you want, do me a favor, Amy, shoot me an email, send it to support@bniconnect.com. Again, that's support@bniconnect.com. And I will be happy to send you some more information. If you let me know also where you're located, what city and state you're located, and I will put you in touch with the right person in order to help you get situated with a chapter. Does that help, Amy? All right, Lori says, where is the support tab? So the support tab from any page in BNI Connect, up here in the upper right-hand corner, click on this question mark. If you click this question mark in the upper right-hand corner, that will take you to the support site. Again, this question mark in the upper right-hand corner, click that, and that will take you over to the support site that has all the documents, all the upcoming webinars. By the way, a good referral for me. Please let your other chapter members, please let everybody know about these webinars. Again, our next webinar is tomorrow. We're going to talk about how to give referrals online, how to use the online slips. Again, that's at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, the same time, same bat time, same bat channel. All right. Lori, does that help? And again, once you get here, well, this next question is from Bill Robbins. Where are those videos? Bill, so once you get to the support site, you'll see recorded webinars, January, December, November. So you can just click on, for example, January 2016. This has, by the way, that first couple of slides, that's part of a 1 hour long presentation called The Power of Connect. If you'd like to check that out, you can check it out there. And you'll see all of the other videos from each month. So hopefully, I don't know if I'll have a chance to do it today or tomorrow, but there will be a February series up there as well, and it will have this video in it. All right, so how does that help, Bill? All right, let's see. Mark says, is the text box for keywords limited? I can't type beyond a certain limit. Yes, absolutely. I believe it's limited, if I'm not mistaken, to 400 characters, somewhere along those lines. Let me just double check that. Might be less than that. Let me see. So I'm pretty much at that limit there myself. Oh, looks like it's 200 characters or so. So it is limited to about 200 characters. So you do have to be a little bit selective when it comes to the keywords. All right, does that help, Mark? Let's see, Jan says, are pre-recorded webinars and other educational posts, the 5-minute ones, eligible for CEUs? If so, what course title do I use? So what I would say is that general rule of thumb, so if I go back to the home screen here, and I'm going to go ahead and submit a CEU slip, for example. I'm going to go submit CEU slip. What I would choose is this one, BNI webinar, for 1 credit for any of the webinars. Now the 5-minute videos, I mean, you can submit one for each, but they're not really. The spirit of the CEUs is that it's approximately the amount of time for the training or for the learning. That's how many CEU credits it is. So, I mean, just be honest. Nobody's going to, the IRS isn't going to come in and audit our CEUs anytime soon. So if you've put some time into learning, give yourself some CEU credits for that. Does that kind of help? So if you'd like to be more specific, what I would do is just check with your director consultant, because some regions also have some specific suggestions for how to track CEUs. All right. let's see. So Lori, I think that was part of your question as well. How many points? Again, submit one of these online. I'll go into detail about how to do that tomorrow. And give yourself 1 CEU credit here. And I'm going to click submit, and now I will have a CEU waiting for me for my chapter meeting this coming Thursday. Let's see, Margaretha, I believe it is. I so apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly, but they say, have been in BNI for a long time. This has been extremely helpful. Thanks. You are so very welcome. That's why we do these, not just for the new members, but people that might be new to BNI Connect. So happy to have helped. Susan says, I'm new to BNI. My membership was paid on February 3rd, but I'm still not able to log into BNI Connect. How long does it normally take? That depends region by region. So it depends if they're processing them at the chapter or at the region. The easiest thing to do is to do a search. If you go back to try to log in, because it's very possible that the invitation didn't make it to you or it got stuck in a spam filter, click on New to BNI Connect, and then put your email address in that you used on your application. If it finds you, it will let you know and it'll resend you an invitation. If for some reason you still don't get the invitation, okay, so it's not finding you, I would get in touch with your regional office. So where are you a member, Susan? So Mid-America. So here's what I suggest. Go to BNIMidAmerica.com. And right here on the Contact Us tab, you'll find the contact information for your regional team. So you can email them or give them a phone call and just say, hey, I've been a member for a couple of weeks. Can I find out what the status of my application is? All right. Hopefully that helps, Susan. Amy has a couple more questions about starting a group and things like that. What meetings are like, Amy? You're also welcome to give me a call and I can discuss all about BNI and how BNI works for you and get you in touch with the right person. So again, shoot me an email and I'll give you my contact details. And I'd love to help you out with that and get you into a chapter somewhere. All right. All right, so that was the last question that I see on the list. Does anybody else have any questions whatsoever? I'd be happy to answer those questions now. Going once. Oh, here we got one. Jan says, what's the difference between guests and visitors? Should guests be registered? So usually the difference between a guest and a visitor is that a visitor could potentially apply. So a guest would be somebody that, maybe they're already a member of another chapter, for example. That would be a guest, or somebody that doesn't have a business or something like that. A visitor is somebody that could potentially put in an application. Now, should they both be registered? My opinion is yes. The reason that I would want to register everybody is because it does give them a reminder to come to the meeting. So it confirms their visit, and then 2 days before the chapter meeting, it gives them a reminder. So there's a lot of people that even register their substitutes as visitors as well. Now, you're not going to get credit for that substitute or for the guest in the POMS report. However, the other good parts of the registration still happen. Does that make sense, Shan? All right. Jan says, perfect, thank you. These webinars are awesome. Thank you, Jan. I appreciate you being here. Please, again, a good referral for me. Let other people know if there's other people in your chapter, especially when it comes to that visitors thing. If you'd like to really kickstart your chapter, give it a nice jump. Why don't you have 2 or 3 or 4 people from your chapter, come and join me for Friday's session, which is the visitor registration one. I'd love to have your whole chapter on board with that if possible. And let's get more visitors to your chapter. Cool. All right then. One more time. Any last questions? Going once? Going twice? Sold. I will look forward to seeing as many of you as possible tomorrow for tomorrow's webinar. Again, that's going to be how to use the online slips here in BNI Connect. And until then, I'd like to say thank you so much for being here and happy connecting. Have a good day, everyone.